Hello, folks. Today I bring you the recorded confession of one of the most infamous people in music history. The story of Robert Johnson continues to fascinate till today. The man allegedly sold his soul to the devil in exchange for becoming a great musician. Did he get his wishes? Was the bargain worth it? Did he become great? I will let you decide, but here is Robert Johnson telling his own story.
My name is Robert Johnson, and this is the story of how I made a deal with the devil to become the greatest blues musician the world has ever seen. If you ever thought those stories about people doing deals with the devil is false, here is the proof you need. Today you will learn the devil is real. Back in Mississippi, where I was born, making a living as a black musician was a difficult job. I worked hard every day, playing my guitar at small clubs and street corners all over the Mississippi Delta. No matter how hard I tried, I remained a poor musician and barely was getting enough to feed myself. I got tired of struggling. My sphere of influence was in the cheap juke joints, the haunt of the low lives where a shot of moonshine sold for far less than the usual cost. I wanted a better life, and by all means too. It all started with a whisper, a tale told in smoky juke joints and shadowy back alleys. They said if you wanted to play the guitar like no one else, you had to make a deal with the devil himself. It was a tempting proposition, but one shrouded in mystery and danger. Back then, I didn't know the devil's deal would come with a terrible price, one I would come to regret. For years I searched high and low for the devil, but he remained elusive, like a specter taunting me from the shadows. Even though I heard of the bad consequences to those musicians who had done the deal, I believed I could still get a great bargain. I didn't have to offer my soul in exchange. Maybe I could give an eye or a toe instead. I had to find a way to outwit the devil somehow. Then, one moonless night, I stumbled upon an old bluesman by the name of Papa Legba. He was a strange figure, with eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. As I watched him strum his guitar and sing songs of sorrow and redemption, I somehow knew that I had found my guide. I am not sure if it was the drink I had earlier, but I found the courage to walk over to him. "Papa Legba, I've heard tales of a devil who can give a man the power to play the blues like no other. Do you know where I can find him?" Papa Legba smiled, his teeth gleaming in the darkness.
The devil at the crossroads, yes, he grants power beyond imagining, but at a cost few are willing to pay. Are you willing to pay the price, son?
I nodded vigorously. I was never backing down from this.
Okay, son, but I warn you, what you are looking for has led many to eternal damnation. I have heard the devil appears at the road crossing of routes 61 and 49 in Clarksdale. Perhaps that is where you need to meet him at the stroke of midnight. Go there with your favorite guitar, son.
With that said, Papa Legba continued with his guitar and paid me no further attention. For days I wrestled with my conscience, torn between the allure of fame and the fear of damnation. But in the end, the music called to me. And so, one night, with a heavy heart and trembling hands, I made my way to the crossroads of Routes 61 and 49 in Clarksdale. At that time of the night, I was not expecting to see anyone there, but to my shock, as I arrived at the intersection a few minutes before midnight, I found Papa Legba there. His eyes, as usual, had that unearthly gleam of otherworldly knowledge. He was seated in the semi-darkness, but this time without his guitar.
You still seek the blues, boy?
He asked as he stretched out his hand for my guitar. I handed the instrument over with trembling hands. He then proceeded to tune it and throw it in the air. I noticed he was muttering under his breath as he did that. His eyes slowly turned bright red like burning charcoal. A little while later, he handed the instrument back to me and commanded,
"Play, boy. Play it like your life depends on it."
So, I played the guitar. I swear I don't know what came over me that instant, but my fingers danced across the strings with a speed and precision that defied belief. It felt like I was drunk. The notes soared and wailed, carrying with them the pain and longing of generations of oppressed souls. It was a sound unlike anything I had ever heard, raw, primal, and undeniably powerful. It was as if someone else was playing while I watched, and yet it was me playing. Suddenly I noticed the night grew darker. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, and a chill wind whispered through the trees. I noticed a figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. Tall, dark stranger, or thing with eyes as black as midnight. The stranger approached me with a predatory grace, his lips curling into a sinister smile.
Well, what have we here? A musician in search of greatness?
My heart was pounding. I knew in that moment that I was standing face to face with the devil himself. I have to tell you, he is a truly terrifying figure. There was nothing good about this creature. It took all of my courage not to run away.
I can give you what you seek, boy, fame, fortune, everything your heart desires. But in exchange, I will take your soul. Do we have a deal?
At this moment, I didn't care anymore. The lure of greatness was too strong to resist, so I nodded in agreement. Yes, we have a deal. The devil then went on.
In addition, do you agree to the following? 1. You will have only 7 months of fame before you pass on to the great beyond. 2. I will give you a lot of fame, money, and women in those 7 months, but all will disappear after your demise. However, 30 years from now, the world will remember and honor your name. 3. Your last resting place will be unknown and subject to dispute. Son, do you agree to that?
Yes, we have a deal. With that, the devil reached out a hand and touched my forehead to seal the pact. I remember a cold shiver ran down my spine. My eyes glazed for a second, and I heard a sound I never want to hear again. It was the sound of 1,000 souls wailing and crying in sorrow. No one told me, but it sounded like the voices of my ancestors. I knew my fate was sealed. I had just sold my soul to the devil in exchange for musical greatness, money, and women. I don't recall what happened next, but I found myself waking up by the roadside at dawn. Both Papa Legba and the devil had vanished without a trace. In the weeks that followed, things changed mysteriously. I was now getting bookings from the biggest bars in town. I signed a record deal and people were suddenly recognizing me on the streets. Everyone was talking how great I was. If only these people know what I had done. Of course, there were those who suspected. They avoided me and spread the rumor I was possessed. But it was just a handful of people. Despite the fear and speculation, many couldn't resist the allure of my music. They were drawn to the haunting melodies and soulful lyrics that captivated audiences wherever I played. I know the devil never fails to come collecting. You may be hearing this confession after my demise. Did I become great after my demise? 30 years later, did the devil keep his promise of making me great? 30 years later, was I buried in an unmarked grave? I am not here to confirm that. I fear I lived only 7 months as my agreement required. Beware what you wish for, folks.
And so there it is, folks. The confessions of a man who made a deal with the devil. Please note, this narrative is a creative and detailed interpretation of historical events, not an actual real account. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know what you think of this story. Hit the like button too.